Forecast. I'm Joseph, the host of the UFC Forecast, and I'm here to do Dana White's Contender Series Week 4 predictions. And this is shot right before they weigh in, so hopefully nothing changes. I'm pretty confident on some of these picks, but there's a few that I'm not too confident in. I'm not quite sure how some of these guys are prospects, and we've seen that throughout this season. It's been pretty lackluster, but we're going to make the most of it. We're going to snipe some bets, and we're going to show Yanni the Greek and Minty Bets who's boss. And I'm not going to get embarrassed trying to pronounce this guy's name. He's from Belgium. We're going to call him B.O. That's his initials. Against Dylan Salvador. Salvador is coming in here as a 165 favorite. And rightfully so. He doesn't have a reach advantage in this fight. He's actually lacking the reach advantage. B.O. will have the 4-inch reach advantage, and he does have some power, but he has 4 to 7 wins by KO, and 3 of them in the first round. But these guys are pretty low-level tomato cans, like 9-13, 0-1, 5-3. And he did win 2 decisions as well, but a 12-1 opponent who also fought tomato cans and a 3-7 opponent. Like, he's not fighting very high caliber fighters, and Dylan Salvador is. He's originally a kickboxer with a very creative style. And he also has a very notable win in kickboxing over Giga Chikadze. And that's right, I pronounced Giga's name right. I was saying Gija, but I learned how to say it right. It's Giga. And Dylan Salvador has great experience, and he's going to be a big threat on the ground here with 4 submission wins. He has 2 rear naked chokes, an anaconda choke, a shoulder choke, 100% finish rate as well. On the feet, he should be able to match B.O. I mean, B.O. is from Belgium. You don't see many fighters from Belgium getting into the UFC, and he's been fighting some pretty low-level tomato cans. And next up, we got a heavyweight fight between Thomas Peterson and Chandler Cole, and this is cut and dry. Peterson is the biggest favorite I've ever seen on the Contender Series in quite some time, and Cole is a plus 500 underdog. This guy's a slug. He's slow. All 3 of his losses are in round 1 by KO. One was to Austin Lane and Greg Hardy, 2 guys we've seen in the UFC. And then he also got knocked out to a guy that was 3-2, to Barris Gordon. And when you look at his wins, they're all tomato cans. He won his last 2 fights against a 5-16, 8-10 opponent. Like, he's a very wide guy, short. He's kind of like a Chris Barnett. Like, 100% finish rate, 9 KOs, 1 submission. I don't really see him getting it done. His knockout win before Austin Lane was to an 0-9 opponent who got finished in every single fight. Like, Chandler Cole is not a prospect. No clue why they gave him a shot here at the Dana White Contender Series. Like, this guy's going to get fucking smoked. Thomas Peterson has fought Waldo Cortez Acosta, did lose in that fight in round 3 by a knockout. But we all seen Waldo Cortez Acosta last week get the KO shot and absolutely fire away on Lucas Brzeski. So that's a very good opponent to lose to. He's in the LFA and he was a former champion, but then Waldo obviously took his belt when he knocked him out. But he has 7 knockouts and 6 of those are in the first round. He is a pretty good wrestler as well. I expect him to dominate this fight. If he doesn't find the round 1 KO, he's going to find it really early in round 2. Thomas Peterson, clearly the play here. And next up, we got the lock of the night. Mateo Vogel from Canada, Ottawa, Ontario, to be exact, against Timothy Cuamba, who's trained at Extreme Couture. He has 3 knockouts, 3 decisions. And this guy, a red flag for me, he likes to wrestle. He's going to be shooting some takedowns, which will be a big mistake against Vogel. Vogel has 4 submission wins, 1 over Garrett Armfield by rear naked choke in the second round. This guy is a high-level grappler, and I'm not being biased at all, though. He did fight Damon Blackshear, lost the decision there, and that's a good opponent to lose to as well. Cuamba's 24 years old, and he's green, and a lot of these green fighters in the Contender Series, they're just not cutting it right now. And a lot of them are getting finished. So I expect Cuamba to get submitted here. Probably early, under 1.5 would be the play for me. Cuamba has a decision win against a 2-1 opponent. That's what I mean. He's pretty low level. He's really green right now in his MMA career. He might have a chance at the UFC later in his career, but he's fighting some pretty low level guys. He won his last 3 fights, 2 of them by KO against a 5-2, 4-6 opponent. But then you got Mateo Vogel, who also finished his last 3 fights. 2 of them in round 3 against a 7-8 opponent and a 2-1 opponent. But the 7-8 opponent has fought very good competition, and he was able to find the submission there. This should be a lot easier of a test for the lock of the night. Mateo Vogel from Canada, and expect him to get that submission win and a contract. And next up, we got the co-main event of the night between Yousri, Belgaroui, and we can just call him YB for now, versus Marco Tulio Silva. And this is going to be a banger fight. I don't expect this fight to go the distance here. YB is training at Glover MMA and Fitness with Alex Pierre. He's originally a kickboxer and he's 6'5". Huge reach advantage here, and he has 4 knockout wins. But let's just look at these guys here. Tomato cans, absolute tomato cans. 5-8, 10-12 opponents, and he only finished 2 of them in the first round. He's not going out there and cleaning guys, and he will outstrike a lot of guys. He's a counter striker, but man, he got out-grappled against a guy from Egypt and Lebanon, 2 places that we don't see fighters come out of very often. Maybe they were very good prospects that we will see soon, but man, I don't know. Like, he lost 2 dominant decisions to those guys, and against Marco Silva, who was supposed to fight Val Woodburn here in this spot, I expect him to dominate, and he's an underdog. And Tulio Silva's constantly going to be pushing forward in this fight. He's a pressure fighter, and he's going to have to brawl the boxer. He's not more technical, but he definitely will have more pressure and hopefully more volume in this fight. As long as he doesn't get caught with a counter shot, I expect him to get the knockout shot. He's fought much higher level competition. 36-20 opponent, 6-2 opponent now. Like, even if this fight does go the distance, he has 2 decision wins there, 6-2, 4-1 opponents. Like, he's been fighting fairly good guys, and YB has been getting pretty easy matchups, tomato cans. I'm not going with the favorite in this fight. It's pretty well a coin flip, and I'm really liking the plus money in the guy that was supposed to fight Val Woodburn here. And next up in the main event, we got an anticipated fight between undefeated fighter Mitch Ramirez and Carlos Prates. And Prates is 16-6. Both these guys are 30 years old. So Prates clearly has a lot more experience. And his 6 losses, 5 of them were by finish, but they were pretty early in his career. All of them were in round 1 as well. But he's worked on his takedown defense. He's constantly improving. He has experience in this fight by far. He's going to be more technical, more seasoned. And 7-0, yeah, it looks good, but I mean, he's 30 years old, same age as Prates, and he's pretty green. He won his last 2 fights by KO against a 10-6, 12-4 opponent, and Prates is out there on a 6-fight win streak, 4 of them in the first round, all by knockout against a 23-8, 12-7, 8-5, 18-10 opponent. You know, they're fighting pretty mid-level competition, but Prates has a much more impressive record and resume. I expect him to get this one done here as the favorite. And Ramirez is going to be super hungry to keep that record to 0, but I don't see him getting it done here against a very seasoned prospect in Carlos Prates. He mightn't be all right in the UFC. I don't know if a lot of these prospects are going to make a real run in the UFC. Like, in my opinion, some of these guys are padded. They fought pretty low-level competition, and when they see UFC competition, they're going to get slaughtered. But who doesn't love Tuesday night fights, especially when there's a UFC contract on the line? Thanks, everybody, for watching my Week 4 predictions. And make sure to smash that like button and suplex the subscribe button, because I'm going to give away $500 once I hit 500 subscribers. And I just posted my predictions for UFC Paris, and I have a lot of views on that video. And I had like 30 subscribers last night alone, so we're getting super close to that 500. One lucky forecaster is going to win $500 in my Discord, so jump in that Discord. You're going to get access to my lock, dog, and prop of the week for the UFC fights. And I also have a lock this week that was posted early for the Contender Series, and I'm going to hopefully continue to do Contender Series predictions. So let me know in the comments below if you enjoy my predictions and if you want me to continue. This is the UFC forecast, and we're going to make it rain on Yanni the Greek and Minty Bets. Let's go get some bread here.